Have you ever heard the saying, make the most out of life? I feel like sometimes when we think about making the most out of life, we know that there are things on the bucket list that we want to try. But what if making the most out of life really meant stepping in to all of our dreams, our aspirations, and the bigger, bolder goals that we think are impossible? How would your life change if you divorced all of the limiting beliefs that you feel are keeping you from the things that you want and really stepped into the idea that I will have it all? How more fulfilled would you be with just the possibility that anything is possible? Let's get into it in today's episode of Big Profit Energy. Welcome to the Big Profit Energy Podcast. I'm your host, Kim McCarter. Now, I'm going to give you a heads up. This is not your average business talk podcast. Big Profit Energy is all about the raw, the real, and the radical. I'm going to be your guide, your coach, and the voice in your ear, reminding you that you got this. This is your season of Big Profit Energy, where bold moves, brave dreams, and big profits are just the beginning. And as a reminder, baby, you got this.
Yeah.
Hey everyone, welcome to today's episode of Big Profit Energy Podcast. This is probably going to be one of those random conversations that I have with you guys more often than not on Instagram Live. By the way, if you are not following me over on Instagram Live, make sure you are. I am MS Kim McCarter over there, and I go live a couple of times a week. We have the most random conversations, impromptu coaching feedback, and it is just absolutely a blast. And the conversation I want to have today on the podcast is another one of those random conversations. And ironically, it was all sparked from an Instagram post that I saw from a woman that I follow who I absolutely adore. And let me tell you how random this conversation is. It all started with a post about her dream house. And when I was looking at the photos she posted of this house, I was like, man, this is absolutely gorgeous. And I started thinking about like, where's this house at? Or where would a house like this be at? And it looks like something that you would probably see on a coastline somewhere. And it reminded me of a conversation that I had with my friend Stephanie about 2 years ago. 2 years ago, I was thinking about the idea of purchasing a home, and a lot of the style of homes that I saw that I really loved, they were either in Florida or Texas. Now, if you don't know, let me just bring you up to speed. I was born in Brooklyn. I moved to Philadelphia when I was 4. I moved to New Jersey in 2010. I am an East Coast girl through and through, and although I am Brooklyn born, Philly is my hometown, West Philly to be exact. And when I was thinking about the possibility of buying a home, I had settled on the idea that in order to have a home that I really loved, like meaning the style of home that I really loved, I would have to move to Florida and Texas, and compared to the prices in New Jersey, it just sounded like a great idea. And one day I saw a home on Instagram and I shared it to my stories, and I was like, I absolutely love this home, but I have no desire to live in Florida. That was the first moment that I actually said out loud or even had the idea or thought that I was settling. Like, in order to have the dream style home that I wanted, I would have to move to places that I absolutely do not want to live. And I was like, I want this, and I want something like this, and I can absolutely have this in New Jersey. And when the perfect home in the perfect area comes along, I will be able to afford it. And my friend Stephanie saw the post and she was like, you absolutely can. And about a week later, we had a conversation about it. And she really just asked me, why do you feel like you have to settle? Why do you feel like you can't have what you want the way that you want? And I was like, because those style homes are in Texas or they're in Florida. They're just not homes built like that in New Jersey. She was like, then build it. And I was like, girl, I ain't in a space to build no home. She was like, when the time is right, you absolutely will be. If that's what you want, that's what you have to call in, and you don't have to settle. If you end up moving to a house in Florida or Texas and places you don't want to be, even though it's your dream home, you still have settled. If you buy a home in Texas or Florida and it's your dream house and you absolutely love the location and you feel like that is home for you, then it's the path that God created for you and you just step fully into the vision. And when I started thinking about that, I realized that she was absolutely correct. One, I was settling, and even though at the time I didn't look at it like that, it just seemed like, oh, it was the practical thing to do. And the more I started accepting the idea that I could have my dream home in New Jersey, the more New Jersey realtors started to appear on my feed, the more I started seeing new construction homes or how older homes were being refitted in a more modern style. And the more I started to realize that I could have my dream home in New Jersey. Then the next hurdle that came up was like all of these homes that I absolutely loved in New Jersey, they were anywhere from 700,000 to $2 million. And I was like, who wants to pay $2 million for a house in New Jersey? Like, that is absolutely insane. That is nuts. It's bad enough we already got the highest taxes in the country. Like, all of these other things started coming up. And this time, when they started coming up, my self-awareness kicked in, and I remembered the perfect home at the perfect time. Right now, I'm just in the forecasting of the vision. I'm not living in that manifested life. But if that's what I want, if I stay the course, I stay the path, and I do the things that I need to do, I will have that home. The next thing that I had to overcome was this idea that I had to work for the home. I don't get to decide how I get this home. Is it going to be through the work that I put in to grow this amazing business? Possibly. Could it be that I or someone that I love hits the Mega Million or the Powerball and they throw me a couple of million and I get the home? Possibly. Right? Could it be that I get the home because the market crashes and there's something amazing on a foreclosure list and I step right into it? Possibly. Could it mean that I buy a fixer upper and get it designed and refitted to be exactly what I need it to be? Possibly. You see how there's so many ways that that can happen? That's what I mean when I say we get to make the most out of life. We get to finally accept the idea that we can have what we want. And even if we may not get it when we think we should, we have to remember that we receive it in perfect timing. And there's so many ways and possibilities for us to make it happen. It is through the decades of conditioning that I have received from family, from friends, from teachers, from employers, from social media that gives me one way of thinking in order to buy a home. But here's the thing. I never said I wanted to buy my dream home. I said I wanted to live in my dream home in the perfect location. And just recognizing the language that I use opens the pathway for me to manifest anything I want. And that is how I want you to think about life. This is why I talk so much about the fulfillment factor, and I'm so glad that I created that method. The fulfillment factor really is us saying to ourselves, this is what I want my life to look like, and I'm willing to lay down all of the bullshit that I think and that I feel in order to understand that I serve a God that delivers to me in the best ways possible. As long as I continue to honor him, as long as I continue to be faithful, as long as I continue to live through my core values, enhance my integrity, as long as I do good, I will live well. And as long as I live well, I shall do good. When I continue to stay in that space, the door is open for limitless possibility. And that limitless possibility and the belief in it doesn't mean that I won't have fears, doesn't mean that I won't often have limiting beliefs. But what it does mean is that I know I have the tools and resources built into my self-awareness to correct my thoughts when they are happening or slightly thereafter. That's how I want you to think about this. And I have an exercise that I want you to do. I want you to think about the things that you want in your life in the areas of the fulfillment factor: faith, fun, fitness, family, friendship, finance, and forward movement. I want you to think about all of those areas in life. And I really want you to get the biggest, boldest dreams that you have out. What is the relationship you want with your higher power if that's what you believe in? What is fun for you on the biggest scale? What are some of the things that you want to do that you're like, I want to do all of these things? And then continue to go down the list. When you think about your fitness, your physical health, your mental health, your emotional health, when you think about family and not just like siblings, but your perfect partner, the kids, whatever, the friendships, the finances, the goals. When you think about all of that, what is the life that you want to live? What are all the things that you want, your heart's desire? And I want you to write them down as if they are a list. And the reason why I want you to write them down as if they are a list is because soon as you write them down, all of the things, I want you to go back through the list and I want you to write out all of the excuses, the reasons that can keep you from that. Here, let me give you an example of what I mean by that. I was reading a book earlier today, which is ironic that I'm having this conversation and then the house came up and then I'm pulling this exercise from the book for you. I was reading a book today and it is a fiction book. I read a lot of fiction. I love fiction writing because fiction writing helps me with my storytelling skills. And one of the characters was saying how he found a bucket list from his sibling who had passed. And she had all of these things listed on her bucket list. And next to all of them, she had all of the reasons why she couldn't have it. And it made him realize that she was already talking herself out of the things that she wants before she even had a chance to try it. And as I'm thinking about this and talking about it out loud with you, I think about a friend of mine who I was helping with some life coaching. And she was like just getting back into dating. And I was helping her understand like, hey, you need to have a vision for what you want your partner to look like. What are you trying to get out of this? Are you just like trying to hang out with somebody's son? Are you looking for friends with benefits? Are you dating with intention? And she said, well, right now I do want to date. I don't really know if I'm looking for anything serious, but I also haven't really defined what that looks like. And when we started like, just really talking through and defining what it looked like, it came up that, no, she really does want a life partner. She wants to be married. She doesn't really want to have kids, but she wants to be in a loving relationship with someone who respects her. And I was like, you know what? That's all real superficial. But what does a loving relationship look like for you? What does respect in a relationship look like for you? Give me details. And she started giving me all of these details. And, we got into the nitty gritty of it because, a loving relationship for one person can look a lot different. For her, that definitely meant like, having a healthy and active sex life. It meant really being able to still run her business and have someone who encouraged her, who empowered her, who gave her words of affirmation, who wanted to celebrate her. It also meant that she had someone in her life who was going after their own goals, where she could be supportive, where she could make investments, but where they could also still have some of that traditional roles in their relationship. She wanted to be the woman who, even if she had a housekeeper, she knew she could still cook a meal that her man would love. She wanted the man who was willing to sit around and help her put together furniture, or who wouldn't mind going to Home Depot and painting a room if she wanted the room painted, right? She wanted all of those traditional roles, but in a much more modern sense. And then as we were talking about it, she was like, but I'm not ready for all of that. So I'll just date with benefits for right now. And I said to her, like, if that's what you want, go after it. If that's what you want, don't settle for that. And if that means it starts with friendship, it starts with getting to understand each other physically and romantically, and it can evolve. Date with that goal in mind and be upfront that that's what you're looking for, so that way you don't settle. In the process of still talking about all of this, she started talking about things like losing weight, getting the new home, fixing her finances. And I said, listen, everything that you have on your list, you should absolutely be willing to bring to the table, right? But that doesn't mean that you get to stop living life in the process of it. I am someone who absolutely believes that anything that you ask for someone else to bring to the table, be able to meet the table halfway. Y'all know one of the things I talk about is I can't give you a seat at the table if you can't afford to get to a resort. So you absolutely have to do your part in all of that. There is a difference between doing your part to make yourself ready and talking about all the reasons why you can't have it based on your limiting beliefs. Because the truth is, as you are getting yourself ready and putting yourself in position, you never know what door you may walk through, what connection you may make in the process. One of the things I have noticed about my life is that when I step into the vision that is given to me by God and I start doing my part, my human will towards getting to the vision, the bigger the vision it becomes and the more physical manifestation of the vision appears in my life, and it appears really, really quickly. When my limiting beliefs keep me from doing the work, I fall darker and darker into those limiting beliefs. So I highly encourage the getting clear on it and the taking action in it. But I really do think it starts with creating the list of all of the things you want in the biggest, boldest way. And then you creating the list of why it can't happen. Because once you create that list of why you can't happen, you'll see all of the dumb shit that you coming up with that makes absolutely no fucking sense. Right? And the reason why it's so important for you to really be like, is this really stopping me? Because even some of the things that you think are so big and so strongly about why you can't have it, those are the things that when you really start leaning into your faith, you start to go, but I serve a mighty God. I serve someone who is miraculous. I serve someone who makes any impossible be possible. And if that is the case, why do I think that this can't happen for me? Another example is when we think about systemic racism and we think about all of the ways that minorities and women are held back. And we do know that there's a fight that sometimes has to happen for you to get into the rooms that you want to be in. And here's how I look at those situations. I don't believe it's impossible, but I do believe that there may be a fight needed. And the question I ask myself is this the fight that I want to fight? If it is something that I absolutely want and something that I absolutely believe in, then the fight is worth it. That's the fight I want to fight. If I ask myself that question and I be like, I don't even have the mental capacity for that, then I know that's the fight that I don't want to fight in this moment. That doesn't mean that it won't change. So I want you to think about, how could you get the most out of life without settling? What is the life that you really absolutely want? What are some of the things that you may be telling yourself consciously or even subconsciously that's keeping you from those things? And what do you need in order to release those limiting beliefs? And you're absolutely going to have to release them, because if you still believe those things can keep you from the things that you want, it's one of the reasons why you'll never have them. And here's something else I want you to know. You may think that this is just a dream and those things are so far off. But along the way, there may be stops that you have to take to get to that thing. And as long as you believe that you can't have that thing, it's quite possible that some of the steps, the actions, and the stops that you have to make along the way, including the things that you want right now, you're keeping yourself from, because your brain's ultimate job is to protect you. And your brain is really saying to itself, if I believe the thing that you absolutely want is going to cause us harm, we can't manifest anything that's going to give us that. Hey, make sure you listen to this a couple of times. This episode is going to be one of those episodes that you are going to need to listen to 2 times, 3 times, once, twice a year, whenever you are in doubt. I hope that it serves you well, and I hope and pray and am excited for you to always remember that you can make the most out of life. Because Big Profit Energy family, you got this, you got this, you got this.
Yeah.
And that's a wrap for today's episode of Big Profit Energy. I want you to remember, your power and success are in your hands. Keep channeling your main character energy, and don't forget to manifest your dreams into reality. Until next time, stay empowered, stay inspired, and keep igniting that Big Profit energy. Be sure to hit subscribe for more, and let's keep this energy flowing. I'll see you on the next episode of Big Profit Energy.